with finding the measure of the missing angle in a triangle. To do this, you have to keep in mind one specific rule, which is the sum of angles in any triangle. And that is always going to be equal to 180 degrees. So without this rule, you can't really do that. This rule only applies to triangles and it is always true with no exceptions. The way you would do this is you would take 180 degrees and you would subtract it by the given measurements, in this case 53 and 77. And when I add 53 and 77, I am going to get a value which would tell me that these two angles together are going to add up to 130 degrees. And now, if these two together are 130 degrees, that means the remaining angle is 50 degrees. So in this case, the angle at C is 50 degrees. And I could double check my work and add them all together to get 180. Let's really quickly try that. It would be 50 plus 53 plus 77. Now, this would be 50 plus 53 is 103, and 103 plus 77 gives me 180 degrees. This is the simplest version of this type of exercise you would probably find, and it purely requires you to just take whatever is in front of you and do some basic subtraction and addition. In this exercise, we will see that the triangle is isosceles. How can we tell this triangle is isosceles? By these two markings right here. These two markings means we have equal sides. And whenever we have two equal sides, that means we were going to have the two bottom angles to be equal as well. In this case, what you would do is you just use the given measurement of 30 degrees, and we would do 180 minus 30, which gets us 150. But please keep in mind that these angles are not individually 150, they are 150 when you add their two measurements together. Now, how would I know their individual measurements? Well, keep in mind the triangle is isosceles, so the two angles are equal. Just like this angle has an unknown measurement of x, this one as well. So what we would do is we would see that x would be equal to 150 divided by 2, which means each of these individual angles it has a measurement of 75 degrees. Moving on. This exercise is very similar to our previous exercise, but our given angle is different. What do I mean by that? Once again, there's a dash on either side, so this triangle is isosceles, which means just like this angle is 35, the one next to it is also equal to 35, because just like it has two equal sides, it also has two equal angles. So those two bottom angles are also equal. And now, since we have two measurements of the three angles, we would do the similar method we did in the first example, which would be 35 and 35 would get added together, and I would get 180 minus 70 in this case, and that calculation would end up with me having 110, which means this angle right here is 110 degrees. For our last example, we are given an exterior angle, and we have actually more than one step of dealing with this question. Our problem is we have this 125, we do not have this, we have an 80, and we need to find x, which is this angle right here. So what we do is we start with our exterior angle. We do 180 minus 125. And this is going to give me 55 degrees. Now you're going to ask, what is that 55? Reality is, this angle right here is the 55. How did we come to see that? Because these two angles are supplementary to each other. And whenever angles are supplementary, they add up to 180 degrees. Now, since I found part of my missing values, I will find our actually important missing value of x. In this case, we're working inside the triangle and we will just be using the sum of angles rule, which is 180 minus 55 plus 80. And I will do this calculation and now I will get 180 minus 135, and 180 minus 135 is 45 degrees. So this angle right here has a measure of 45 degrees.